Rachel Helplinas, and I'm 21, and my major here is social work. So to start, I'm going to open up with a verse, and that will relate sort of to the background story I'm going to give you, and then I'm also going to tell you one of the most important stories of my life. So it'll relate to that. So the verse I'll start with is Psalm 138:8. The Lord will fulfill his purpose for me. Your love, O Lord, endures forever. Do not abandon the works of your hands. So I'll just begin with a little bit of my early childhood, which I'm just going to really skim through it because I'm a really, really detailed person, and I could make this speech a lot longer and be nervous the whole time. So I don't want to do that. So anyways, I went to a Christian school almost my whole life, just besides high school. And it was really kind of hard because I always had to pretend that my life was normal. I had to go to school and act like I was also a kid whose parents were really successful and rich and everything, partly because I did think my life was normal. I grew up with, my mom married she had three husbands, and they were all alcoholics, including my father. And we had the stepfather that I grew up with most of my life from age 5 to 14 was very abusive to my mom and beat her up multiple times all the time, every single night practically. So there was a lot of alcohol and like a lot of really traumatic stuff that happened early on. But since I had God under me, just from going to the Christian school, I just knew to pray. That's all I knew. So I would pray a lot, and God would definitely answer my prayers. So basically, when I was in about 8th grade, I started drinking alcohol. I don't know why. I mean, I knew it was bad, but I did. And long story short, moved out when I was 14 years old from my mom's house and was independent since then. But so some of my adolescent background is right when I moved out when I was 14, I worked 60 hours a week and went to junior high and lived in my new house 100 miles from where I worked. So I was breaking the law by driving at night every single day in the winter, and it was a really bad situation, but I needed to support myself. So in the next few years, a span of really unhealthy relationships led to me starting to use drugs, and it was just a lot of depression. My mom was trying to convince me this whole time I was away that it was a selfish thing to move out when I needed to know that life wasn't normal and that I had a choice to get out of that while I was still young. So anyway, so I'm going to get to my story now. That was just a little background, and my goal is to convince each one of you guys that you guys are a miracle, and it's just a miracle that you're here today, and it's a miracle each day that we have is a miracle because there's a purpose. So when I was in my junior year, when I was 15, I graduated early, I was driving my car to school, and there was another car accident ahead, like a quarter of a mile, and so all the cars came to a sudden stop. And I was going 72 miles an hour, and I pressed my brakes, and nothing happened. And it doesn't really register right away when your brakes go out. And I don't know if many of you had your brakes go out, but it doesn't really register right away that you're not slowing down. It kind of takes a couple seconds, and then it did. And I kept thinking, God's gonna save me somehow. Like, this kind of stuff always happens. Like, you know, there's so many times I almost died, but he didn't actually save me right there. I rear-ended a semi-truck on the highway going 72. He was totally stopped. And it just so happened to be that a nurse on her way to work and a firefighter leaving work were parked right next to me and saved my life by holding the blood, you know, giving me lots of insulation and everything. And they used the jaws of life, and it took like 2 hours to get out. And so it's all a miracle. The junkyard that took my car thought a family had died in my car from how much blood was all in there and everything. And I know it's crazy because I'm not like in a wheelchair or anything, but I had 42 stitches, 3 layers deep. My brain was coming out of my head, and there was no brain damage. The doctor showed me that, like, he couldn't show me how close the stitches were even to my eyeball because it was literally on my eyeball, but I have no loss of vision. So I literally didn't get injured at all, no brain damage, no broken bones, no nothing. And So basically my main point through that is that it's one of my main stories to tell. It's something like a near-death experience can really change your life, and just, I know that some of you guys have had those, and I know that it totally changes your life, and it's what God has given me to understand the newness of each day and the newness of those around me, and my newness in Christ, and really know like that there's a purpose for us to be here. And we all have something to offer when we become more fully ourselves. That's when we reveal who God is. So, in conclusion, there's lots more details. I could tell you what I like to do and where I like to go, because this was definitely in the past, long time ago. So there's a long way that I've come, but I believe that this is definitely the most important message that God can portray through me right now. Just to an audience that I don't know too well yet, it's that each of us are a miracle because we each have a purpose for this day. So in closing, my verse that kind of correlates with the first one is, "But I have raised you up from the dead for this very purpose, that I might show you my power and that my name might be proclaimed through all the earth." That's it.